Hey, hi everyone. This is Sai from LetsUpgrade. So let's talk about how to get your certificate. It's very simple. You will see two links in the description. Number one is the place where you have to go and mark your attendance. Marking your attendance tells us, like, okay, you are a legit student who have attended this particular session. Link number two is your assignment. This is where your 90% of the priority is. You have to go and submit the assignment that is given to you in this particular session. Once you're done submitting that assignment, we will be evaluating that. We will send you an email. If you get the passing criteria, then only we will give you the certificate on a particular date that is mentioned again in the description. Please check these three things, and this is the way how you will get a certificate from Let's Upgrade. Number one, mark your attendance. Number two, just go ahead and upload your assignment. Check for the email that you have received it, yes or no. What is the feedback that you have received from your trainer? Number three, check on which date the certificates will be released. Thank you. Bye. All the best. Happy learning.
Welcome to all. As you all know, this is your day two, and here you're going to learn some advanced tools and techniques to work on your huge data set and the techniques of automating your work to a way that you just need to, change something in your inputs and the reports will get modified as per the instructions you have passed before. I hope the day one was well and you have gotten pretty good understanding on the basics of how to manage your datas, how to write the datas, what are the data types, how to format them, simple formulas for aggregating your datas, running the logical formulas, and applying conditional formattings and validations on the same. Yes, hopefully you have done giving a good practice on all those concepts. Make sure you perform everything practically along with me in day two also. So let's start. Definitely we'll start with what is the agenda. So like we have covered a few basic concepts in the day one part. In day two, we are going to learn about how to organize your data. So sorting and filtering up your data. Then we'll move on to understand how to do certain countings based on criteria. Like I want to know how many number of learners have passed the examination or how many of them have failed. So how do I keep that tracking of counting? We'll also check the lookup formulas, which is, as you all know, one of the highly used group of functionalities in Excel and been asked by every interviewer that are you aware of lookups, and then lots of questions on the same. So we'll understand simple concepts of lookup, VLOOKUP, and then we'll take it towards a bit more advanced part. We'll also have a look onto what are pivot tables, how they can help you to transform your huge data set into a small summary. What are the different setting options you have inside the pivots so that if you know the correct settings, making up your reports will be very easy for you. You don't need to write the formulas when you are with pivots. We'll also see how to get the dynamic impacts on the pivot, how to convert the same data into a graphical way so that it's easy for us to understand understand the data, and a simple cleaning technique to take care before you start with the pivots. Yes, so I hope we are set with the agenda. You all are ready. You know how to do the things practically at your end, so keep performing along with me. Yes, let's start. So, what do we mean by arranging and filtering the data and why that plays an important role? We may have a huge data set with us, and sometimes we just want to, after importing that huge data set, we just want to do a simple sorting on the primary columns so that I can just see the list of all my students with respect to their names been sorted in ascending order, or maybe employee codes are arranged in an order and I want to focus with respect to the code only, or even I have my product names and I want to sort them in an alphabetical order. For any of this, I can simply go for the initial sorting. I will always recommend, in fact, before you get a data and you start working on the same, make sure you apply some sortings on the data and arrange them in a correct way. Second thing which you can do with your huge data set is filter the data. That again plays an important role because you have thousands and lakhs of records with you. You may not need everything at the same time. So, filtering and removing the unwanted records from the screen will help you to focus on your area of interest. That's how filtering are done. And once you're good with that, you can just take up this data to any other reports, like you can take it to pivot tables and have your amazing dashboards ready. So let's explore this, how the sorting and filtering is done. I'm onto my Excel window, and this time the workbook is named as 2.1 Conditional Functions, Lookup, Pivots and Dashboards. We are working on the first sheet, which is named as sorting and filtering. Now if you check this data, the data is arranged quite randomly. What does that mean? I don't see any order in the data. But then maybe I would like to arrange this data in an alphabetical order, especially for order IDs, let's say. So how do I do that? First thing, check do you have the sort and filter icon on the screen or not. If you don't have, press Ctrl Shift L. What Ctrl Shift L will do, it will allow you to activate the sort and filter buttons on the screen. You can activate them from here, or you can just go over here and you can say filter. That will even allow you to activate the button. Once that is done, you can go for the specific column and choose the sorting. Like if I go for order ID, it do give me an option of sort this A to Z or Z to A. Let me try for A to Z. So when I say A to Z, you can see all your order IDs are arranged with the alphabetical order. If you make that as Z to A, it just reverses the order of your ID details. While I was doing it for text, it was A to Z and Z to A. But then what if I have dates? So when I go for the filtering, it do give me an option of sort oldest to newest. That means the oldest date will come at the top and then the newest will be at the bottom, or newest to oldest. So that again helps you to arrange your data with the in and out method. If I'm working on the locations, I can again go and sort them with respect to maybe A to Z, and I can see all records of Bangalore followed by Bhopal, Chennai, Mumbai, and Pune. So that allows you to sort. When I go for items, again I can see A to Z, then I can see the list of items like laptop, mobile phones, and tablet. When I'm working with numbers, this time I'll be getting an option of sort them smallest to largest or largest to smallest. When you do the sorting on any of them, so you can have an option of text, dates, or numbers. The sorting column will give you an icon that helps you to know that this particular column has been sorted. That helps you to understand with respect to what the data is arranged for you. So that was about the simple sorting. As I was sorting, you might have noticed one thing, that the moment I go and apply the next sorting level, the previous one is getting removed, which is obvious. Because if you say you want to arrange your order IDs in an alphabetical order, you cannot go for arranging your total sales amount now. Correct? Any one of them can be arranged. But then what if I just want to arrange them with respect to the locations, then with respect to the items, and then I want to focus on the company name and then the total sales amount. With that I mean, I would like to give multiple layers of sorting. Is that possible? Can I go with multiple layers of sorting also? And yes, you can. How you can do that? Go for the home tab, editing group, sort and filter, and you can see an option of custom sort. When you go to custom sort, the dialog box will give you a benefit of adding layers to the sorting. So let me just go for the first one, as it should be sorted with location. But then I want to add one more level over there, saying after location you sort my data with respect to items. Again I'm adding a level and I'm saying sort my data with respect to the company name now. And then I'm adding a level and I'm saying sort them with respect to the total sales amount. Now, as you're sorting, you can choose the order over here. Like for an example, for total sales amount, I would like to convert that to largest to smallest. At any place, if you want to go from Z to A, you can change that. So what are we doing over here? We are just adding up the levels. If you have added the levels and you don't want them, you can just go and delete. To add new levels, you can click on add level. Or if you want to copy the level as it is, just say copy level. For now, I'm saying OK to this. And you can see all the records of Bangalore are arranged, then Bhopal and then Chennai. That is fine. But now in Bangalore also, what it is doing is, it is sorting my transactions with respect to laptop, then mobile phone and then tablet. In case of laptop or in case of mobile or in tablets, if the company name is changing, then it will go for sorting the company names. And then finally it will go for total sales amount, where the amount will be sorted as per the largest to smallest. Okay, if I work on Chennai, I can see all records of Chennai, but then at the start I'm having laptop, then mobile phones, and then tablet. In laptop I'm having Apple, and then HP, and then Samsung. Now three times Apple is repetitive, so it will arrange that with what? With a descending order of total sales amount. Now that's a very good way of arranging the data, because now you can see similar records being grouped together. It becomes easy for us to analyze or understand. Now if I just apply a conditional formatting on this, it becomes easy for me. So if I just go to the conditional formatting options, and maybe I can go for simple color scale, and I can say green, white, and red, and that really helps me to know where the total sales was high or where it was low. Again, grouping that with respect to Bangalore, laptop, Samsung, and so on. Yeah, I believe that the concept is fine. You have understood how the sorting can be done. Now, the next part is sometimes we may want to filter up our data. Why there is a need to filter the data? Because maybe I'm willing to focus on a particular area of interest. For an example, I want to check all the transactions which are relevant to China only, Chennai only. So I'm clicking on the filter icon and I'm selecting the option Chennai. When I do that and I say OK, you'll be able to see that I'm getting all the transactions of Chennai over here. Correct? But then it's look like only one column is sorted, is filtered over here. Can I go for multiple filtering like I did multiple sorting? Yes, definitely. First of all, just check on the status bar. It helps you to know how many records are getting displayed on the screen out of the total records. So in this case, I can see 11 of 59 records are found. On the status bar, you'll always be able to see the filter result. Now, maybe you want to go for only mobile phones in that case. So all the transactions done in Chennai relevant to mobile phones is what you're focusing. And you can see that. If you wish, you can just copy this data, take it to any other new sheet and paste, and then work on that particular area of interest also. Suppose if you have given some filtering and you want to remove the filters, you can just go to the appropriate column and say clear the filter for that particular column. If you wish to remove all the filters, just say Control Shift L, because that key will remove the filter icon. That means all the filters will be removed from the table. Now, what if I'm working with dates? If I talk about filters and dates together, you can see in the areas of my filters, I'm getting the list. Like in text, it was like laptop, tablet, mobile phones. But then here it is year 2022, in which I can go for January and then I can go for even date wise. Or maybe I'll go for 2021. I can see May records and then I can say, okay, show me the records of May 14 only. And I can filter it date wise also. Not just that, if you are working with, let's say, order ID, that's a text column. One is you are getting the list of all the unique sources you have, all the unique order IDs you have, and you can filter. But then maybe I know that the data should start with B. All the invoice numbers which are starting with B, they are indicating a particular series, and I want to focus on them. What I can do in that case, one is keep on clicking on each, but that will take a long time for me. So I can go for text filter. When I go to text filter, it gives me an options of text is equals to something, not equals to something, or begins and end with something, or may even contain something. So if I say begins with, and I'm writing the letter B and OK, you'll be able to see all the transactions which are relevant to the start value as B are getting displayed on the screen. Likewise, I'm just removing the filter from there. I can go for text filters. I can even say which contains, and I can say the letter L. So now what it will do, it will filter for all the records which have the letter L in the data. So that's how your text filtering can be very appropriate for specific text you are searching, where you are looking for a specific character or a word also. The same thing if I work on numbers now. I have checked for date, it gives me month, year, quarter options. When I go for text, it gives me options of text equals to, not equals to, begins, starts, end, everything. When I go for numbers, again, down I'll be getting the list of all the unique sales values we have, but then we may not go for the filtering at that level. But then I can see the option over here called as filtered based on numbers. And if I go over there, it says the numbers are equals to something, not equals to something, greater than equals to, less than equals to, between, top 10, bottom 10, and so on. So I'm going for top 10 and okay. And you can see the top 10 records on the screen. With that, I guess you have got an understanding the concept that when you filter, your data are getting arranged as per what you're choosing in the panel. Correct? You have lots of options over there. You can choose the categorical data over here very smoothly. Like I said, top 10, I can even say show me all the records which are above average. Now I don't know the average. I didn't calculate it that. But then if I highlight, I can see the average was 453535. And all the records which are above that are getting displayed on the screen. Yeah, I have just removed all the filters by pressing Control Shift L. Okay, so that was all about sorting and filtering on your data. Time to move for the next concept that is called as working on statistical functionalities where you're giving criterias and then you're counting something. Let's explore this. So how do we utilize this advanced formulas for our dynamic report? Again, there are few formulas like sum if, count if, average if, and as the name says, they really help you to do aggregations on your data with respect to your conditions. So I can do, give criterias and then I can add with respect to that criteria, count with respect to that criteria, and find out the average with respect to the criteria. The common syntax are sum if, pass your range, pass the criteria, and pass the column you want to add. If I go for count if, it just need two arguments, the range and then the criteria. If I go for average if, it need three arguments, the range, the criteria, and then the average range. As we have checked, typically we'll be using this where we want to know the sales done with respect to different regions, average profit earned with respect to the different items we are selling, and so on. I can say this will really help me to understand my data better and take certain decisions with respect to the average or the counting results I'm getting. Let's explore this on our Excel screen. So I'm back to the workbook 1.2. The sheet name is Statistical Functions Unsolved. Let's start with reading the data first. So I have the report of the sales done, where my first column is indicating the sales order ID, followed by that the date on which the transaction was done, the location where we did the transaction, what was the item sold, the company name for whom the transaction was done, and then the total sales amount. Yeah. On to the right side, you can see I'm just trying to build up a report with all these features. Let's start with the very first one. The first one is I want to know how many number of transactions do we have? The number of transactions. If you remember, we learned that yesterday in our day one, I can say the function called as count. But then I can go for count or count A. This case count A because I'm doing a counting on order ID, which is an alphanumerical column. So I'm saying count A, control home. I'm selecting the data, enter, and it says there are total 59 records. That's fine. Now I want to know what is the total revenue generated out of those 59 records. I want to know the total revenue. So I'll write sum and I'm going to pass my total amount column like we did before. And it says the total revenue we have generated is 183,63,111, right? Now, what is the next thing I want like to generate over here is out of this 59 records, I'm more interested in knowing how many records are relevant to laptop, tablet, and mobile phone. Before we go ahead, you give a try and then tell me if you can get the answer for how many records you have for laptop. What you'll do in this case? That's correct. What you'll do? We learned just now the concept of sorting and filtering. So you may think about, okay, I'll go and filter for laptop. My status bar will help me to know the records and I can then go and write those number of records. May work, guys. I can go and write those number of records over here as 22 and then do it again for tablet and mobile phone. But then many props. One, quite lengthy process. You might have guessed that. Two, I'm doing something manually, high chance of me making a mistake, manual errors. Three, this is going to be very static. If there is a change in my input, the report won't change. Sometimes maybe by mistake and it was laptop and later on I changed that to tablet. But then now the value of count won't change because it was a static number searched by me. So we don't want to go with those manual reporting. So we want to have an automation on this. How can I count with respect to criterias now? So as we checked on the screen of PPT, we can go for a function called as count if. As the name says, count if the conditions are met. So the arguments are range and then the criteria. What is my range? I'm doing the counting on item column, correct? So I'll say control home. I'll go for my column D. At D2, I'm saying control shift down and then comma. In double quotes, I can write my conditions. What I'm looking over here, I'm looking for laptop. Now, laptop is a text, so enclose that in double quotes. Enter, and you can see the result. It says 22 records. Likewise, if I want to know what are the count of transactions for tablet, what I can do is I can again go for a function called as count if. Like we know, we won't be hitting the whole formula. We'll be just using a tab button to auto complete the function. Again, the arguments are range and then the criteria. What is your range? I'll say control home. I'll navigate to the column where my item details are given. Select the data, then comma. In double quotes, you can write your criteria. Like after laptop, I was looking for tablet. Come to the double quotes, hit an enter key, and it says total 19 records are there which are relevant to tablet. Before you go ahead, you may give a try at your end for mobile phone also. I'm writing a count if functionality. I'm saying control home. I'm navigating to the item column, and then I'm double quotes. I'll be writing that I'm doing a counting on what? Mobile. Double quotes complete, enter, and it says 18. The best way to cross check if I have got the correct answer or not is select the three datas and read onto the status bar. The sum is 59. What is that 59 indicating? That's the total number of transactions you have, which is somewhere an indicator that the formula is correct. Now, the count function was helping me to do the counting on the number of records. Maybe I would like to know how much revenue we have generated with respect to each region. With that, I mean I want the filter on region, maybe for Delhi in the first case, and then I want to see the sum of this revenue generated, which right now says 129237394. But then remembering that number and then writing it manually will be challenging. So what we want, a good formula which can help us to see this total sales. And for that, I can go for sum if. Why I'm using sum if? Because I want to do the addition with respect to what? With respect to the criterias. So I'm saying sum if. What's there in sum if? The first argument is range, then the criteria and the sum range. That means the column we want to add. Range will be, in this case, my column C. So I'm saying control home, navigating to C2 and selecting the whole data. Comma, in double quotes I can say Delhi. Double quotes complete and then comma, sum range. So I can again go for my table part and select the data from F2 to F60. Enter, and I got the same answer 1292394. If I want to move ahead for Mumbai, my logic of formula is still the same. I just need to go and say sum if from C2 to C60 for Mumbai, and then from F2 to F60 you should do the addition. But then as I was doing it, I just felt like, can I do it better? Because I don't want to keep on writing up my formulas every time. So I just thought to copy the above formula down. If I copy that down, it's look like the things are working, but we don't know. So let me press F2. That was in shortcut key to activate the cell if you remember. I can see my sum if formula is written, but then if I look carefully and closely, I can see that the range which was starting from C2 to C60 had been changed from C3 to C61. As I move down, I guess you can see that easily on the screen. What is happening? Your range is slowly moving down. If you remember, we somewhere covered the concept of locking a cell when we were using nested if or IFS. And we understood that the data are moving down. So like the cell moved down, obviously your range will also move down. And in this case, I don't want the range to come down. So what I'll do is I'll lock the range. Now just look carefully on the screen to understand how to lock the range correctly. You can go to the cell, press F2 to activate. You will be able to see the formula. Now take your cursor inside. You need to lock C2. So take your cursor to C2, press F4. Take your cursor to C60, press F4. Hope you remember. It may be F4 or it may be F and F4. So you just check the combination. And this will work for me. I'll just do this much for you to understand the impact first of all. So now if I check on my data set, I'll just show you both impacts so that you can understand. So C2 and F2. But then I have locked C, F is not locked. So can you see the difference now? See, this range is locked from C2 to C60 always. But then the second one, F column is moving down, which we don't want. So obviously, we'll have to lock the second one also. Now I'm just giving one tip over here on how to lock. Like we did before, you can take your cursor inside and then lock it individually. But then, sometimes when you have a bit complex formulas, locking by clicking on each cell may be challenging again. So you click on the argument, that is sum range in this case. When I click on the argument, automatically it will highlight that part for me. And now pressing F4 is quite easy. Correct? Enter and you can see the result. Control D, and absolutely no doubt this is working. But then as I go down, I can see all the answers are similar. Why? Because we just went with saying do the total on Delhi. So it was looking for that specific city only, Delhi. But then what I want is, as I move down, it should be Mumbai, Bangalore, Chennai, Nagpur, Pune, and Bhopal. Now what should be the change? In your formula, you went with a static functionality. You set Delhi, correct? So just delete that Delhi and select the cell address of I-19. What is I-19? I am giving the cell address of location. That will solve my problem. With that I mean, either you write your conditions in double quotes, a hard coded conditions, or you pass a cell address. And on that cell, whatever is written, sum if, count if, average if, will start checking for that. Now this is amazing because when I copy this formula down, if I double click and copy that down, I can see I'm getting the total for all very smoothly without writing the formulas again and again. Just to cross confirm, if I check this total and the total of the revenue, both are matching 183,63111. That's in proof that I have got the correct results with the help of sum if. Yeah. Now, like we did count if and sum if, sometimes maybe you are interested in knowing the average of the sales done with respect to, let's say, this time company wise. So you want to know company wise the revenue generated, but then the average revenue generated by company. And for that, you can use a function called as average if. The arguments are range, criteria, and then the average range. What will be your range? I'll say control home. I'll navigate to the column of company name. That's my condition. If you ever, that this is one of the shortcut key which I love a lot because many times when I'm done with the selection, see in this case, for an example, I'm somewhere down. Now I wish to go back to the place where I was writing the formula so that I can see what is there on to the left. Whether it is Samsung or HP or Apple, I don't know. So I wish to go back to the place where I was writing the formula. And for that, you can use control backspace. Those who have been working on Excel might have faced this problem a lot of time that you go somewhere for the selection and then you cannot see the cell where you were writing, but then you wish to go back over there so that you can continue your formulas easily. And control backspace can help you for that. That's the first thing. Second, I know this E2 to E60 is going to get dragged down by me for Samsung and HP. And when I drag, it should be locked. So either I hit an enter key, complete the whole formula and lock it afterwards. Or best practice, if you have done that analysis before only, you know that this should be locked, then better you press F4 as you're typing. Way better. Then comma, I'll hit the left arrow key to select I30. So it will take automatically the cell address of Apple. Comma again, control home, control right arrow keys, and I'm selecting my F2 to F60. Control backspace to go back to the formula location so that I can see if the things are going good. Press F4 to lock, enter, and you can see that result. And if you Copy that down. You can see the average of the sales done from each. As we have learned before, if you wish to do the rounding on the same, you can simply have a round function and you can say round it with 0 so that it won't show you the decimal values on the screen. So that helps me to know average sales by Apple, Samsung, and HP. Correct? And that's how quickly we have generated the report. Remember, guys, with all the techniques we have learned on this page, any changes you do in your inputs, if the sales value was incorrect, now you're correcting, the name was incorrect, the city was incorrect, anything, all your reports will get updated automatically because you went with passing the range. Whereas in the previous case, when we were checking with filters, it was very static report and it won't change if your inputs are changed. Yeah, go ahead, go softly, and give try for every concept we have checked on this window. When you're good, you can move ahead for the next learning. Time to move for the next learning, and we are here for the amazing one now that is called as lookup functionalities. I would say this, that whenever you say to anybody that I know Excel, this is one of the group which will be an indicator that yes, surely you know lookups, surely you know Excel, because lookup functionalities is the one which is used a lot in Excel. For what purpose? For fetching up the data. Now we are going to have a look on to VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP, and XLOOKUP, all the three. When I say VLOOKUP, what's the logic? It will help you to search for a data where your data are arranged vertically. Okay, there are some rules for VLOOKUP which you need to check on your data sets. So basically, what is lookup? You may be working on two different data sets and you want to get an input from the other table into the current one. And to get that input, you can either search the things manually and then write the values, or you can write a lookup formula to pull the data. But then when you're writing the lookup formulas, you have to take care of what type of inputs are given to you. And as per that, your formulas will keep on changing. Like VLOOKUP is a good one when your search table from where you're calling up the data is arranged vertically. When I say vertically, it is like A, B, C, D column wise arrangement is. Whereas on the other hand, you can go for HLOOKUP if your data are arranged horizontally, that is in row format. That's the difference between VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP. The second common scenario which you need to check in both cases, whether it is VLOOKUP or HLOOKUP, is both should have something common with respect to which you are trying to fetch the data, which is obvious. If I'm searching for my student report, so I have one of the data where student database is written, the other one where the result values are written. So I have to get something common, maybe the student name which I'm matching, maybe their roll numbers which I'm matching, and then I can pull the data. So that matching value is important in both VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP. The third thing is, when I say VLOOKUP, the condition is the data which you are searching should be at the first column. Whatever data you're trying to fetch should be available at the first column only. That's the limitation of VLOOKUP. In the same way, HLOOKUP is a horizontal arrangement of the data. So limitation is the data which you are searching should be at the first row of your data. The data which you are searching, like if you are searching for the row number, which is a common value in both the case, then it has to be at the first part only, as per the search table. The next rule is, in case of VLOOKUP, you cannot go to the left side and search. If this is your column, you can pull anything which is on the right side. You cannot go to the left side. Same way, if I'm writing HLOOKUP, the limitation is I can go downward, but then I cannot go upward and get the data. Maybe it's quite complex for you to understand what is this VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP and what is this up and down or left and right. But then as we start looking onto the example, you'll understand, okay, that was the scenario. But then just remember this thing, that VLOOKUP has a limitation of it cannot go to the left side. Your search column should be the first column. And it is least flexible when you have a complex data type. Whereas XLOOKUP, that's an amazing feature, but then the point is it is available only in the advanced versions, that is 365 onwards, you'll get that. So if you have 365, you can see XLOOKUP over there. XLOOKUP is very powerful. It allows you to just pass the search column, result column, and that's it. In fact, it do even give you an option of approximate match or exact match. So that's a new way of working, but then I can say that if I write too many new formulas on my window, and if I'm sharing that report with someone XYZ, and that person is still using 2010, my formulas won't work on his screen. I hope you're getting my point. So, knowing everything, knowing the concept in such a way that at any version you can work is really important nowadays, because it's not that in the universe everyone is having 365. We have groups where people are still working on 2007. They're working on 10, 13, 16, maybe 21, or maybe 365. So we'll start with that basic concept of VLOOKUP and then we'll move ahead. If I talk about VLOOKUP syntax, it will ask you for the four arguments. The first one will be your lookup value. That means what are you searching? Your next argument will be your lookup array. That means where are you searching for that value? In which table you are searching for that? Third argument will be your column index number, whose details you want to fetch. And then finally the match mode, whether you want to go for an exact value or an approximate match. In case of VLOOKUP, if you're searching for a data, if you're searching for record number XYZ, and if that record is not available in the other table, it will throw you an error, hashtag any error that is not applicable. And we may prefer not to show the errors on the screen, right? So you can use if error along with VLOOKUP to handle those things. But then as we were talking about XLOOKUP, you have an option of passing your error handling techniques within the formula itself. You don't need to combine or nest it with any other function. So XLOOKUP is amazing, but then I'll come to XLOOKUP towards the end. We'll start with VLOOKUP for now. So let me take you to the screen of Excel, and the worksheet is named as Order Summary Unsolved. Remember, again, you have the solved one and then the unsolved area. So we are working on the unsolved area. What are the inputs? You have some order numbers along with the date on which the order was received, the salesperson who did the transaction, the customer ID who have placed the order to you, product which was being ordered, the ID of the product, and then how much quantity is ordered. Now what is missing? I don't know the details of the customers like their name, city, zip. I don't know what is the year of experience of each salesperson. Or I don't have the information about my product also. What is the category? What's the name of the product, the price, and the cost? And I'm not even aware of how much commission is to be given to the salesperson. Now, there are lots of infos which are missing. So I want, for my further working, I want to bring them all on the same page so that I can use them for my report building. Now, how do I bring them? Let's start with the first one, that is, I want to get the name. Now, the point is, you have customer ID given over here and you want to get the name of the customer. But then from where? Exactly after this, there is a sheet given named as customer details. What is this window holding? It do have the list of all the customers you have, followed by their name, address, city, state, and zip. What we have? We have a column indicating the customer IDs. So we have in all 15 customers. The 16th one is just a duplicate value. So you can just erase that. So I have 15 customers with me. Their names are given, city, state, zip, infos are given. Now if I just number these columns for my better understanding, I can see this, that there are total 6 columns in the data set. Now this is my search table. Correct? What I'm trying to do is the customer ID which is written over here, I want to search for that customer ID in the customer details like 10011. I want to search for 10011 over here. Once I get that value, I would like to copy the name of the customer and paste it over here. Likewise, I can go and copy the city and paste it over here. But like I'm pasting, you might have guessed this, that in this way, we really cannot go long because it will take a long time for us to complete the task. We have 1200 plus transactions. High chances of me making a mistake even when I'm copying and pasting. And then again, yes, to the same point, it will be a static report. So I want one formula which can help me to get those 3 column details from the other window over here without me writing up the form, without me doing it all manually. And for this one, I'm starting with VLOOKUP. I'm just repeating the rules of VLOOKUP. Make sure that this is your search column and this is your table. So listen carefully for the rules. VLOOKUP rules are: rule number 1, You should have a search table which is arranged vertically in column format. A search table where the data is arranged in column format. And that's fine for us. Rule number two, you should have something common with respect to which you can get the data. I have the common column as customer ID. I have my common column as customer ID. Correct? So I can get my data with respect to customer ID. Rule number three, that common column, or I can call that as my search column, should be the first column of my search table. So this is my search table, and this has to be the first column of my search table. Even that rule is fine for me right now. And the last rule is you can get anything which is on the right side of this. So I want to get name, city, and zip. All the three columns are onto the right side of my search column. So again, I can go for VLOOKUP. I'll quickly repeat the rules. Vertically arranged data, that is column wise arrangement of the data. Search table should have, and the result table should have something common. The common column should be the first column of your table, and you can get anything which is onto the right side of the search column, not from the left side. Now, keeping those rules in mind, let's try to write down our first VLOOKUP. So I'm writing equals to VLOOKUP. Now, guys, one thing which you should understand is the target is not to get the answers on the screen for you. The target for you is to understand the formula in such a way that when any other input comes in front of you, you are able to write your VLOOKUP. I have seen many working in the industry who are using VLOOKUP from past 10 years, 15 years. But then they still says that we are not clear with the concept of VLOOKUP. What we do is past years we are just writing the same way one single VLOOKUP formula. If you change anything in the data sets, we won't be able to manage at all. Why? Because the concepts are not clear. So pay attention to the concepts more. My first argument of VLOOKUP, what is that? It says lookup value. Simple instruction, lookup value. That means what I'm searching. I'm saying that I'm searching for this customer ID. Fair enough? I'm saying I'm searching for this customer ID. Comma. What's the next argument? Table array. What does that mean? Where are you searching for this customer ID? Where are you searching for this customer ID? Where I'm searching? I'm searching that in the next sheet. It's not within the same sheet, it is on a different sheet. So to go from this sheet to the other one, either you use your mouse, or if you remember, I had given you one shortcut key on day one, that was control page down. So say control page down, it will help you to go to the next sheet. On this sheet, I need to select the whole data which starts from A1. So control home will be a good key for me to come to first cell A1. From here, I am pressing control shift down, control shift right. Control shift down, control shift right. That just allow me to select my entire range. Comma, column index number. What does that mean? Your search table is having 6 columns. So how your Excel will understand out of those 6 columns, which column info you want. That's what your column index number will be. So if I want to get name, I'll say 2, indicating what? Give me the second column detail. Here customer ID is the first column, name is second column, address is third column, and so on. So I'm writing 2, indicating get me name. And then comma, it is asking me for the type of match. I'm saying I want false. That means exactly the same customer ID should be searched, not a nearby one. Like if I'm searching for 10015, it should be 10015 only, not 10016. That won't work for me. Exact value should be searched. So you can say false. Just remember, highlighting and hitting an enter key won't work. Highlight, then press a tab button. When you say tab, your false will be written. Now you can hit enter and you'll get your result. Okay, I'll just give you some instructions over here on the common mistake you may make. So you set equals to VLOOKUP. You're saying search for this customer ID, correct? Comma where? You set control page down and you selected the whole data. So when you move from one sheet to the other to select the data, it will take the address as the sheet name, exclamation mark, and then the range. Like here it is customer details, exclamatory mark, A1 to F16. It won't take just A1 to F16, it will take sheet name and then the range. Now, if you go for this previous sheet again, Your addresses may change sometimes. This address, when I went over here and I selected, it worked well. But if I go back to my previous sheet, can you see the change? That is selecting my current sheet. Why? Because I came back to this sheet. So the rule is when you go to any sheet, why is this happening? Because from that sheet, you just came back on this window and the address is changing. How to resolve? It's simple. You can just go back to your customer details and select the data. After this, give comma, write the column index number, 2 in this case, and then false. As I said you before, remember to hit a tab button and write false. Enter, and you can see you got the answer as Sonata software. Now what you can do is you take the cursor to the corner and drag it down. But then as you drag it down, you may realize that few of the values are giving you not applicable. If I try to check that, not applicable in case of VLOOKUP is an indicator that it is searching for the data but it is not available, which is fine sometime. But then just to confirm, I'm checking if 10002 is there. So 10002 is available. Still I'm getting not applicable. In fact, as I scroll down, I can see for every record I'm having, it just says not applicable. Why? If you again focus on the formula, you said search for D3, where from A1 to F16, get me the second column detail and an exact match. Enter. You again went for from D3 you went to D4, which is okay. But then your customer detail had moved to the next range. It was A1 to F16, now it became A2 to F17, A3 to F18, A4 to F19, A5 to F20. Are you getting my point? What is happening? This was your search table. As you keep moving down, your search table is slowly moving down. And at certain level, you are just searching for a blank panel and you won't get your answers. Now, how can I resolve this prop? Yes, you get that right. We'll have to again lock this. How do we lock? As I said you before, go to the cell, press F2 to activate, take your cursor inside, go for table array, click with the help of the mouse on the table array argument and then press F4 so that you'll get those absolute impacts. Now drag it down and you can see the results for all the names you have. Let us try for city now. So you'll write equals to VLOOKUP. You can say lookup for this D3, comma where. I'll say control page down, control home. I'm selecting the whole table. This time, instead of locking it afterwards, I know I'm going to copy it down. So I'll press F4 while I'm writing the formula to lock it, comma. I'm looking for city. So I'll have to count the column number for city, that is 1, 2, 3 and 4. City is my fourth column. So I'm writing 4 and then comma. You can write false, which is indicating exact match, or you can even say 0, which is nothing but false only. So either you write 0 or you write false, both will be okay. Enter and I can see the city details. Tracking it down and I got my answers for city also. Let's give a try for zip now. I'll just do one small change when I'm trying for zip. What is that change? I'll say equals to VLOOKUP. Since I'm working with 365, it do support array feature. So at the place where it was asking me for the lookup value, I am selecting customer ID, but then I'm pressing Control Shift down. What Control Shift down will do? Instead of D3, it is taking the whole range, D3 to D1275, and it will work for me. Just see the magic. Comma, table array. I'll go for my customer details, that is control page down, control home. I'm selecting the whole place. F4 to lock. Comma, I'm looking for zip. So code number will be 6 and then comma 0 indicating an exact match. See the moment I say enter. This time I don't need to drag my formula down at all. Why? That formula which I have written above had dragged the cells down automatically for each, because I said from D3 to D1275. So automatically the entire formula is dragged down. Remember, this will work only with 365. So if you have that application, go ahead. If you don't have, you can give try with the older way only. Also make sure if you have used array, you cannot go to any of this formula and write something else in between. You'll start getting a spill error. So if this is the way by which you have get the data, don't write anything in between now. Okay, that was how a VLOOKUP formula can help you to get your results. Give try for these three formulas and then we'll find out the year of experience. Now let's work on the next column, that is column J. What are we looking at column J? We would like to know the year of experience of each of the salesperson written at column C. We want to get year of experience with respect to the salesperson name. Let me hide column G, H and I. So I'll select and say Control 0 to hide them. Now to get this year of experience, I have a reference sheet named as commission criteria. What is that sheet holding? It have the name of the salesperson followed by the salesperson ID and then the year of experience. Now if you look carefully, this is called as an horizontally arranged data, a row wise arranged data 2, 3 and 4. It's not a vertical one, it's horizontal. So now in this case, you'll be using what? HLOOKUP. Like we have checked the rules for VLOOKUP, we also have certain rules for HLOOKUP, correct? What are the rules for HLOOKUP? Rule number 1, your search table should be vertically, instead of vertically, it should be horizontally arranged, that is row wise arranged. Rule number 2, you should have something common to get. Now in this case, I have salesperson as in common field with respect to which I want to get the data. Rule number 3, the first row of your search table should hold the data which you are searching, your common column. That's also fine in this case. Salesperson is what I'm searching and it is on the first row. And then the last rule is you can get anything which is below this, not above. So if suppose above this you had any column, you cannot get the details of that column. But then below this, below the search column, you have salesperson ID, year of experience, you can get any. So look like in the current scenarios, HLOOKUP can help me to get the result. Let's write HLOOKUP. So I'm saying HLOOKUP. My first argument is lookup value. What is lookup value? Lookup value means what are you searching? I'm going to say I'm searching for the salesperson name, comma. The next argument is lookup array, the table array where your data resides. So where is your table array? In commission criteria, I can use my keyboard keys to just simply go and select the range. So your range is from A2 to I4. This should be locked because you're going to copy the formula down. So let's press F4 and lock this. Comma. Observe the difference over here. In case of VLOOKUP, the window was asking you for column index number. Now it is asking you for row index number. Which row holds my year of experience? Now here you may get confused that it is row number 4. But then remember always this column number or row number are with respect to your table, search table, not your worksheet. So with respect to the search table if I talk, my salesperson is first row, salesperson ID is second row and year of experience is my third row. So you'll be writing what? You'll be writing 3 to get year of experience. And then comma, like we did it for VLOOKUP, here also we can indicate whether we want an exact match or an approximate match. I want exact, so I'll say 0. Enter and I can see the result. I can drag that formula down and I can see the values for all the data I'm having. Now, as we were checking before, that may be in your data sets. I'm just writing up my name. Let's say at some places I'm just writing up my name. So what I'll be getting in that case, since this data is not available in the input, you will start getting hashtag any errors because you're searching for the data called as Jayashree and it is not available in your input table. So you will get hashtag any error. And in general case, you will try to avoid showing errors on the screen. You would like to handle those errors. So how do you handle the error? You can combine this lookup formulas, VLOOKUP or HLOOKUP along with if error or if any. So if I say if error, it indicates that if there is an error when you're executing this HLOOKUP formula, then comma, where I'm at value if error. So two simple arguments, value and value if error. Value will always hold any of your formula and value if error will hold the text you want to handle, the value you want to show over there. I can say no data. Enter. And now you can see if I drag this formula down at all the place where in the previous case I was getting hashtag any error, now I'm going to get what? No data error. The only difference between if error and if any is If NA will handle only hashtag NA error, if error can handle any errors like reference error, name error, divide by zero error, all those errors can be handled with the help of if error. So combining your formulas with this if error will be a good option at the place where you know user may make a mistake and you can throw your own custom text over there. Yeah, go ahead and give try for this HLOOKUP functionality along with if error and see if that works for you. And we'll move for the next concept now. This time I'm working on column K. So let me just again go and hide column J as I don't need that. I'm working on column K where I want to know the product name. Now if you look carefully, I have column E which is holding my product ID. Column E holding my product ID, and with respect to that I want to get the product name. From where? From the sheet called as product details. If I check product details worksheet, it do have list of the products followed by the product ID, category, price and cost. What I have? Product name, ID, category, price and cost. I want to get the details of the name with respect to product ID. If you give one thought on this, you will realize that your product ID column is in the middle, though this is a vertically arranged data. But then can we go for VLOOKUP is the question over here. And the answer is no. Why? Any guessing why I cannot go for VLOOKUP in this case? That's true. What is the prob? That your data is arranged onto the left side. So if you say product ID, with respect to product ID, getting category, price and cost was fine. But then with respect to product ID, getting the product name is not possible with the help of VLOOKUP. Why? Because it is on the left side and you cannot go from right to left. From left to right, you can move for VLOOKUP. Then how can I get this result? Now, few of you can simply go with a technique which many are using in industry. That is just rearrange your input table and now product ID is your first column and product is towards the right side and you can go ahead. But then may not be that practical in every scenario. So maybe we cannot change the location or we don't want to do that. We don't want to rearrange our inputs. Then how can I go for? If you are working, if and only if you are working with 365, you will have a formula called as XLOOKUP. So you need to check the version which you are using, does that support XLOOKUP or not? How do you know that? When you write X in the pop-up, you should get that formula. If you are getting that, means it is supported. Now if I read the arguments of XLOOKUP, it says lookup value. What does that mean? Lookup value means what I'm searching. So I'm saying I'm searching for this product ID, comma. The next argument is lookup array. Now here's one small difference. In case of VLOOKUP or in case of HLOOKUP, when you're passing the lookup array, it was usually the whole table. You were passing the entire table, that in this table search for the value. But then in this case, you need to pass only one single column as a lookup array. But what will be that one single column? The column in which your contents reside. Like I'm saying, search in my column B, which is of product ID. I know I'm going to drag this formula down and the range should not move. So I'll press F4 here itself to lock, comma. The next argument is return array. What's the meaning of return array? What result I would like to get? What result I want? Again, in this case, it is not asking you for row index number or column index number, which was the case of your VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP. Since it is asking me an array, I do get a benefit of selecting that column quickly. I don't need to sit and count whether it is column number 1, 2 or 5. So I'm just passing the column A, indicating search in this column A. Press F4 to lock, enter, and you can see the result. That's an amazing one again, I can say. I'll repeat that. Check carefully on my screen how the formula is written. Let me just zoom this a bit to be sure that you can read the window. So I am over here. I'm writing equals to XLOOKUP. First argument is lookup value, means what are you searching, comma. The next argument is lookup array, which will be nothing but the column in which you are searching. Make sure you press F4 and lock that. And then comma, return array will be the column whose result you want. Again lock that. Enter, you got the result, and you can drag that down. Double click and you can see even if your product was onto the left side, you're able to get. Not just that, you need to sit and count the column sequencing. Also, since you're not passing the whole table, the working of XLOOKUP is quite faster. In case of VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP, you pass the entire table. When the table is minimum like 100, 200 rows, it's fine. But then if suppose your search table is holding 10,000 records, then passing the entire table will take some time for your Excel to process. But in case of XLOOKUP, you're passing column by column. So the things are quite easy and faster. Let's say now I want to know the product category, price and cost. I want to know product category, price and cost. Now to get that information, I have again product ID and I'm using the same table. I'll just do some more changes in XLOOKUP because there are a few more arguments over there. Let's explore them. So I'm writing equals to XLOOKUP. Lookup value is product ID, comma where. Where's my lookup array? I'll say product ID is my lookup array. F4 to log that. Comma. Now it is asking me for return array. I want to get category, price and cost. Since these three columns are in sequence, I'm even allowed to pass the three columns at one go. So I'm passing C, D and E, indicating get me the details of all the three columns at one go. F4 to log, and I can see the magic. At one click, I have just spilled my data across the columns. I am getting categories, price and cost. But this logic will work only when the sequence of your search table and the sequence of the columns you're trying to fetch is matching and they're same. In that case, you can easily go for passing an entire array range. Now, other than that, what more arguments we have? So I'm writing my XLOOKUP one more time. I'm saying search for this product ID where in this product ID column, comma, and then what details I want. I'm passing this entire range, correct? Just pay attention over here. Let me press F4 for both the parameters. I guess I made some changes. Okay. Now, when I give comma, I am getting my the fourth argument, which is the optional argument, which says if not found. What does that mean? Like we checked in case of HLOOKUP, if the data is not available, you were handling it with if error, correct? But then here in XLOOKUP, they have given you that inbuilt feature. You can do your error handling in the formula itself. So in the double quotes, I can say no data. Or you can write it as check ID. That is, I'm asking user to check the ID again. Maybe that is incorrect. Comma. The fifth argument over here is match mode. Like in VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP we were having. Are you looking for the exact one or the approximate match? So I'm saying for exact over here because I want to get the exact value only. We'll take an example of approximate afterwards. And then comma, I even do get an option of search first to last or last to first. Remember, in case of VLOOKUP or HLOOKUP, you will always get the result of the first occurrence. So even if the same product ID is repeating thrice, you will always get the first occurrence. But in case of XLOOKUP, you are getting an option of choosing whether you would like to go to start the search from top to bottom or bottom to top. So if you say top to bottom, it will start from first to end. If you say bottom to top, it will go for the last occurrence and will help you to get the results. You can just use -1 and +1 to bifurcate that. Now let me copy these three formulas down and I can see I got the results for all. I got the results for product also, I got for category, price and cost also. That's how XLOOKUP formula will work. I'm again repeating that. Make sure when you say equals to XLOOKUP, it's available in your drop down. Otherwise, you cannot continue writing it manually. It will give you a name error. Time to move for the next one now. Let me just hide all these extra columns again as I don't need them. I'm hiding cost, category, price and the product name also. Now we are at the total sales column. So total sales is given to us and our target is to find out the salesperson commission. How much commission is to be given? This commission is with respect to the total sales they made. Repeating, with respect to the total sales they made, we want to find out the commission to be given. Where do we have that input? Under the sheet called as commission criteria. You can see over here onto the right side, There's a table which indicates that if the person had done a sales between 0 to 5,000, we are going to give him 1% commission. If he had done a sales between 5,000 to 10,000, we will give him 3% commission. If the sales is between 10,000 to 15,000, then 5% commission. 15,000 to 50,000, 7%. 50,000 to 1 lakh 29%. 1 lakh 20 to 150, you'll give 11% commission, and then so on. Now what I want is, I want to get this results over here. So it should match my total sales, and as per that should help me to know the commission percentage. But then again, a quick question that comes to my mind is, how do I solve this? There was one concept which checked somewhere, that was nested if. Correct? I can either go for nested if or I can go for IFS. This too will help me to get the result. I hope you agree on that. We check that 0 to 100, 100 to 200, 200 to 300, 300 to 400, and so on. Same way, this is the data. So I can go for that nested if for if. But if I go for any of them, I'm having, I guess, some 9 conditions. Yeah. So if I have 9 conditions, minimum number of arguments I'll have to pass is 18. If I go for IFS, if I go for nested if, I'll have to keep writing one more if, one more if, one more if. That means 8 ifs and then the conditions. So that look too complex for us to go ahead. We cannot go for this too lengthy formulas. We may get confused in between, or we may make mistake when we are writing, and then finding the mistake will again become a challenging thing. So how can I solve this? Again, this is an amazing one over here. I'm going to say, now if I check this data, it is a vertically arranged data. I'm searching for total sales and I want to get the commission percentage. So all the set of rules which I have for VLOOKUP are okay over here. So I can just go for a simple VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP, first argument is lookup value. I'm saying I'm searching for this total sales, comma, table array. I'll go to commission criteria and I'm selecting up my table. Remember, you're going to drag your table down, so make sure you lock it. Comma, column index number. Now what do you say? What should I write at column index number? I want to get the details of commission percentage. What will be the column number? You don't need to sit and count for that huge range. It will be simple. First column is your sales amount and the second one is your commission percentage. So you will be writing 2 indicating get me commission percentage, and then comma 0 indicating exact match. But then it says not applicable. Why? Because the number I'm searching 8012 8012 is not available in this list, so I'm getting NA. But then I just thought, instead of 0, what will happen if I write 1? Or maybe you can call that as in true. Instead of false, you're writing true. Either you write true, or as I said you before, you write 1. You can see you got your answers. Let me fill it down and see. Your record was 8,000 and you're getting 3%. Is that correct? Let me just take a number which will help you to understand. Let's explore this one, where the value of invoice was 10,000 something. So at the backside, what is happening? How is this working? It will start from here. I'll just change that number to maybe add one more 0 to this to just show you the example. So now the invoice value is 1,09,000 something. Now how the working is happening over here? Since you said approximate match, your search started from here. Are you looking for 0? No. So the cursor will go down. Looking for 5,000? Again, no. Will move down. 10,000? No. Will move down. 15,000? No. Will move down. 1 lakh? Oh, sorry, 50,000? No. Will move down. 1,20,000? No. But then now it realized that, okay, you're looking for something which is lesser than 1,20,000. It is at the place where the records are more than the value you were searching. So automatically the cursor will move up and will give you the matching value of the column you had asked, that is 9% in this case. I hope you got the logic. So first thing it will always do is it will search for the exact match. But then if the exact match is not available, it will go and give you an approximate match, the nearby match for you. Okay. Can I do the same thing with XLOOKUP? Maybe my data is onto the left side. Least chances, but then if in case, then let us try for XLOOKUP. Lookup value will be this, comma where? What you'll say? In which column? I'll say I'm searching this column, F4 to lock, comma, return array, I'll say percentage F4 to lock, and comma, if not found, I'm just keeping it blank. So just double quotes open and close, comma. Now you can see match mode. If you say 0, it will search for the exact value. But then if you say exact match or next smaller item, or you can say exact match or next larger item. I'm saying smaller item, bracket close, enter. And if I drag this formula down, you can see I am getting the same result as I was getting even for my VLOOKUP. So you can either go for VLOOKUP and approximate match or XLOOKUP and approximate match. You have both the options. The only additional advantage in XLOOKUP is you can do error handling, you can pass column by column, and you can even say give me the greater value. So 1 is indicating the less than. If you say -1, it indicates greater than. That's the difference of changing the match mode. I hope even the concept of this lookup functionalities is fine for you, where we have explored HLOOKUP, VLOOKUP, if error along with this lookup functionalities, the approximate match concept, the XLOOKUP with an exact match and XLOOKUP with an approximate match too. Go slowly, give try for each of the lookup formulas. Again repeating, make sure you understand the concept, because reading each arguments will help you to understand what has to be passed. So if in the real life scenarios you get a different data sets, a complex one, you can easily solve that. It's time to move for our next learning now. Our next topic is mastering on the pivot tables so that you can understand how to analyze your data. When I say we are using pivot tables, how do we create them or how can we customize them? The very first simple thing is creating a pivot structure. So you may have certain inputs. You can just simply go to the insert tab and say insert pivot tables on those records. When you do that, you will be navigated onto a clean canvas where you can just start with your analysis window. On the analysis window, you will always be getting four parts: your filters, report filters, you can call them as. Then you have rows, columns, and values. These are the four different elements of pivot. Just drop your fields at the particular area and you can just quickly reshape your summaries by moving them from one place to other, rows to column, columns to rows, and so on. You can even do a grouping over here so that you can have a report not just date wise but then year wise, quarter wise, or maybe month wise. Maybe you have lots of items and you want to group them with category A, B, and C. You can even do that grouping. Or maybe you have lots of numbers like age and you want to group the age so that you can focus on age groups like 30 to 60, 60 to 80, and so on. So all those options of groupings are available over here. You can even filter your data so that you can focus on specific area of interest, or you're even allowed to sort your data and arrange them in your own specific orders. Not just that, you're even allowed to have your own custom columns inside the pivot. Now that's very interesting, because up till now it was like your input should have everything and then you can just create a pivot table on the same. But then we'll also explore how can I have my own custom columns and then you can use them on the pivots. What are the techniques of using that? So basically, if we talk about pivots, it's about analyzing your data where you can analyze and show the totals, average, minimum or maximum values and categorize your data. You can filter your data so that you can focus or isolate few of the values which you don't need and focus on the relevant subsets you want to work on. You can have groupings, as I said, month wise, region wise, or product wise, and make different patterns and find out the trends from the inputs. And you can even go for drilling down, like you may have years, inside the years you may have quarters, inside the quarters you may have month, and then in month you can have dates. Another example can be I'm working at state, inside the states I am having cities, and then inside the cities I'm having the list of customers. So I can just drill down for my data and I can go step by step to the inner levels and make the analysis on the data sets. If I just talk about some practical implementations of the pivot tables, I can say if I am into the sales field, I may be using pivot tables to summarize region wise how the sales was made, or with respect to the different product, what was the average sales done. And maybe I can use that for my analysis purpose and find out any specific product which has not been sold a lot, or the regions where I'm generating maximum profit. So I can just find out those monthly sales reporting very quickly over here. If I talk about financial summaries, I can just have my aggregate cost over here. I can just set at the margins over here, and I can quickly analyze my monthly close over here. When I talk about customer segments, like we said before, we can check easily over here in which areas our cohorts are, and then as per that I can filter and find out with respect to their age grouping, maybe which cohort have maximum sales in a particular area with respect to their age too. So I can analyze multiple parameters on the same pivots. And I should say that since this is a tool which is inbuilt, you don't need to write down formulas over here, too many formulas. Maybe at some scenarios you're writing your custom columns, that's a different story. But then otherwise, you'll be amazed to see the result that you had some 10,000 records and you're just summarizing it into a minimum mini table without putting lots of efforts. Every formulas of yours will be done automatically. And the amazing thing is, all your reports will be like they will be updated automatically. If they are changed in your data, you can just say refresh over here and the whole pivots will get updated. You don't need to invest too much of your time in doing those arrangements. So let's move ahead and explore this part of pivot tables. We are on the sheet named as dataset for pivot. So this is our dataset. I'll just start with reading the data first and then we'll move ahead with understanding how to create the summary on the data. So if I start reading, I have the first column indicating the order source. So basically we have a data set from 18, 19, 20 and 21. For 4 different years, the data set is shared to us. Our next column is order ID, indicating the order number with respect to which the transaction was generated, customer who placed the order, the date on which the order was generated, the ship date, followed by that, the source from where the order was received, Flipkart, Amazon, Snapdeal, and so on, product which was been ordered, what's the price, what's the cost, how much quantity is sold up till now, with respect to that, what is the total cost, the total sales value. If we have given any discount, what was the discount percentage? What is the shipping cost incurred in delivering the material? And considering the shipping cost, the discount, what is the final total sales amount? Then we have the column helping us to know what was the priority of the order, whether it was in high, medium, or critical order. Then we also have some info about the customers like customer first name, last name, the segment, whether it was in home office or corporate or consumer, city to which the customer belonged, state details, country details, region, age of the customer, details of the product like product name, categories, subcategories. So if I just check, I'm having roughly some 27 columns with me. And if I read about the number of records, I'm having some 6,000 or plus records over here, 6,400 something. Now that's a huge info of 4 different years, and I want to summarize and understand how is the sales done in each region, how much profit is generated with respect to each source, how many transactions do we have with respect to each categories, and all those multiple stuff. But then if I sit and start writing up my formulas or just start with filters and create all those reports manually, it will definitely take a long time. But then other than that, it won't be that dynamic also. So with pivots, I can get a dynamic impact and it becomes easy. But then make sure before you start with the pivot, some basic rules which you need to follow. Rule number one, definitely you should first read your data. After reading, analyze what are you trying to get at the output. And then check whatever inputs you have, are they sufficient for you to collect the output you're expecting, or there are few columns which are missing. If they are missing, try to collect them by maybe they are available on a different sheet and then you can write a lookup formulas to get them on the same sheet. With that I mean you should have everything within one single table and then you can start with your analysis. Other few rules are there should be no column blank in between the table range. So your table range should be continue. Every column you have should be named. You cannot have a column without any name. Pivot will start throwing errors at the start only. Also, when you're naming the columns, make sure that every column have a unique name which is obvious. But then if in some case you have went with the same column name, change that. Make sure that you don't have some blank rows also in between, otherwise your pivot will always show you blank, blank, blank in your reports. So make sure you don't have any blank records. Other than that, the formatting of your column plays an important role. That is, if the column is about the date, you need to check the pattern. Is the date stored in a correct date pattern only or not? If your data are in numbers, and if you want to apply any statistical functionalities, you want to aggregate them, then make sure all your numbers are treated as number only. As you all know, we have seen the number group and we know that the alignments of numbers are always on the right side. So take this, simple care of checking your data first, cleaning them, prepare them, and then start with your pivots. The next thing is, I have kept this data in a table format. So if I go to the table design tab, I can see the name of the table as pivot data. Now the point is, what if I don't have my data in table format? So for an example, if you have certain data which is not in table format, let's say this is not in table format. So how do you convert a data set to table? Just say Control T and OK. And this will help you to change your data to table. Whenever your data is in table, you can see a table design tab where it is asking you for the name of table. So you can go over here and give a good name to your table. I'll say Control Z to this. I don't want that in table format. But then I can see this data is in table format and the data is named as pivot data. Now, why is that important? Because if I don't keep it in table format, I'll always have to select the range. That's the first problem. Second, when the new records are added, if I go with static range, it won't get updated automatically. But when they are in table, they'll get updated automatically. So keeping your data in table format is really a good option. Now let's explore the first screen of the pivot. So I'm on dataset for pivot. My data is named as pivot data and I can start with the pivots. To start with pivot, you can simply go to the insert tab. In the insert tab, you can check the option of pivot tables and again say pivot tables from a table or a range. The moment you click, you will get this dialog box. What is the dialog box asking you? It is asking you for the table or the range. Now, since the data was in table format, you can see pivot data. But then in case you have a data in a normal range, it will just show you the range as A1 to Z100 or something. Down it is asking me, where would I like to start my pivot? On a new sheet or on an existing sheet? For this case, I'm going for a new sheet and I'm just saying OK. The moment I do that, I will be navigated to a new sheet. The name of the sheet will vary as per the number of sheets you have. But then on that new sheet, you can just see a vacant canvas available for you where you can just start designing your pivot. Correct? If you check carefully towards the right side, you'll be able to see a pivot table field list. Correct? In the field list, you will be shown the list of all columns you have in the current pivot or in the current data source which you have chosen. Down there are four areas: filters, columns, rows, and values. You can just simply drop the above columns in any of this area and keep designing your dashboards. Now the point is, what if I close this by mistake? So if I close this, definitely I won't be able to create my pivots without that area. So no worries. If your cursor is in the pivot, suppose if it is outside, I cannot see those tabs. But if it is inside the pivot, I can see two tabs for me, that is pivot table analyze and design tab. Again, the tab name may vary for you because of the version you're using. You may have just analyze and design, or you may have analyze, layout, and design something. So the tab names you just need to check. In that pivot table analyze tab, I can see towards the right side, towards the end of the ribbon area, there's an option of field list. If I click, my field list will appear again. Another thing which you can do over here is, I cannot see the list of all the columns over here. So I can go to this gear icon and I can just make that as field sections and area sections side by side. That will help me to show my area sections over here and the field list over here. Now it may become a bit easier for me to drop the fields. If you are at the pivot table analyze tab, you can see towards the start the name of the pivot table. You are free to change the name to any other. Just remember, when you are naming, you cannot use space in between. So to separate two words, either you use underscore or you write them with the next letter in capital. Okay. Now let's start with designing our pivot. So let's say that with respect to the different order sources, we want to know the total sales done. So I'm dropping the column of order source in my row. The moment I drop my order source in the row, I can immediately see over here the list of all the unique labels I have in order source. That means Flipkart, referral, website, Amazon, Snapdeal, and IndiaMart. They are getting displayed row wise. So each row is created for the unique order source we have. I want to know the total sales done, correct? So I'm dropping the column of total sales amount in the values. We usually go max of the time for some numerical fields in the values area because over there you'll be summarizing your thing. So when I drop total sales amount over there, I can see it says sum of total sales amount. So automatically the sum functionality has been executed. So me, without writing any formula, have done with generating my report. I can see some decimals over here. Maybe I don't want the decimal values. So no worries, I can select. I can go to the home tab and I can say decrease the decimals. That helps me to remove the decimal values. As of now, it is with respect to the order source, the total sales amount. You may want to even analyze your quantity sold. So no worries, you can drop your quantity column also. With that, we understand that in the values area, we can drop as many columns as we want. I can even drop order ID. But since order ID is a text column, when I drop, it will say that this is your count of order ID because it cannot do aggregation. So it will just run one single functionality, that is count. So now I know how many number of transactions we have generated with respect to each of the source. Correct? That's our first report with respect to the order sources, total sales done, total quantity sold, and the number of transactions we have. Let's move ahead to create our next report. To create the next pivot, I'm going back to my dataset for pivot. At the window of dataset for pivot, I'll just say insert a pivot table. You can also go with the shortcut key as Alt N V T. So the moment you press Alt, all your ribbon keys are activated and it says you press N if you want to go to the insert tab. You press V if you want to go for generating pivots and you press T if you want to go for table. Enter and I'm on to the next pivot now. Let us say that this time we are willing to create a report on the different countries we have. So I'm dropping country into my rows. What I'll get? I'll get the use list of all the unique countries we have. I would like to see what is the total quantity sold with respect to each country. And that helps me to know that in Australia how much quantity was sold, in China how much quantity was sold, in Germany, and so on. But now the point is, what if I would like to analyze this with respect to the different categories I'm having? So what I'm doing is I am dropping the column of categories into my columns. The moment you drop anything at the column level in the pivot, it will create unique column for the same. So we have three categories with us. We are dealing in three categories: furniture, technology, and office supplies. So with respect to each category and the different countries, we can see the summary over here that we have sold 1957 number of items in Australia for furniture. A very good summary, I can say. Let's say that we want to go into more details. Let's say that you want to know this with respect to the order sources. So now you're dropping your column of order source, that then below the country. So the moment you drop that below the country, what will happen? It will help you to know, okay, in Australia 1957 quantity was sold, but then in that too, through referral it was 353 quantity. Through Amazon, it was 359 quantity. Through website, it was 262 ordered, and so on. So very nice summarization is generated over here without we putting up too many efforts. So as I said, that you can just change your columns into specific areas, and as per your dropping, the report keeps on changing. Okay, maybe we are good with the report, but then we want to do a bit more formatting on that. With formatting, let's say you want to change the color impacts of the report. Then what you can do? You can go to your design tab. In the pivot table style, you can see you have options of changing the colors. Where I'm at the design tab. Remember, if your cursor is outside, you may not be able to see the tab. Keep your cursor within the pivot, then only tabs relevant to pivots will be displayed. I'm going for the design tab. I'm opening the pivot table style and I'm choosing one of the style from here. You're free to pick something from a lighter tone, a medium tone, or if you scroll down, you have even options of creating reports with respect to a darker tone. So it's your call. You can choose as per your wish. I will go for something from the medium tone only. Okay. Now, other than that, I can see pivot table style options. If I uncheck the row header, what will happen is my report was showing me the subtotal of Australia, China, Germany. Correct? So I was having those subtotals and those subtotals are highlighted. Like the subtotals, I even have grand totals for each record, for each row, or the grand totals for each column also. Now I can even change those settings. So when I go to pivot design tab, I can see header row. So if I uncheck that, the field impact from the subtotals will get removed. If I uncheck column headers, the field effect from the column headers will get removed. But if you want them, just click and they'll get applied. To make a good separation between the records, you can even say banded rows. When you say banded rows, it will just add borders to your record. Likewise, if you say banded columns, it will add borders to your column level. And now that's bit a better way of reading my data. In my row, I had dropped two things, country and order source. So what I can see over here is country and order source. Country and order source. That means single column A is showing up both the things, country name also and the sources also. Maybe that's not easily readable for me, and I want to have two separate columns, one for country name, and there should be one more column where I can see the order source name. To do that also, you can choose the design tab and change the layouts from here. So let us start from the first one, that is layout for subtotals. If I say don't show the subtotals, what will happen? The subtotals of Australia, China, Germany will get removed. If I say show me the subtotal at the bottom of the group, what will happen? Australia is there at the top, but then the total quantity sold in Australia will be displayed down. So subtotal is getting displayed downward now. Or you can just make that as subtotal on the top like it was before. Same way, you have grand totals, but then you can say you don't want the grand totals, neither for row nor for column. Now you don't have the grand totals on the screen. Or maybe you can go to the design tab and you can say, show me the grand totals only for row, or maybe only for column. Or you can just say both for row and column. That's how you can choose how the subtotals and grand totals should behave. The next option is report layout. We are working by default in the compact form. But then if you change it to an outline form, you can see that you have got one special column for country and the column B is inserted in this case for order source. So I have Australia, but then the details of order source is shown in column B now. When I go to the design tab, I can see another setting over there in the report layout as showing tabular form. That may be a more better way of showing your report, because now you have a field impact of Australia and then the total of Australia is getting displayed with your record. So this is a good way of reading the pivots, I can say. You can choose, but then you want the field colors or not. So if you don't want that Australia to have a field color impact, you can remove. Okay. If you want to repeat the labels like it was Australia, but then you want to repeat the name of Australia down. So you can go to the report labels and you can say repeat all the labels. Now the name of Australia will keep on repeating for you. If you want to insert some blank rows in between, you can just go for blank rows and say insert blank rows in between. When you want to make it a simple text, a black and white one, you can just click on this and you can even remove header rows, header columns, banded rows, banded columns. To remove the filter icons, you can say you don't want the field buttons, you don't want the expand buttons. Now if you see, this somewhere look like a normal report which you have created manually. Correct? It's your call, but then yes, you have all those settings available. How you want your window to get display. I'm just activating all of them back because that was a good way for me to show my summary. But then I don't want blank rows, so I'll go and say remove the blank rows from between. Okay, now the next part. What if I drop few more columns over here? So for an example, I would like to know this report with respect to segment also. So I'm dropping segment below the rows again. So now I am having three fields in my row: country, sources, and segment. And how the report is: Australia, the source referral is repeating thrice, and then I can see segment as consumer, corporate, and home office. Same way down. Maybe this time I can say don't repeat the item labels to keep them quite sorted and readable. So that's how you can keep on adding multiple values in your row. Now let's explore this filter part. What is to be done with the filter part? So for now, I'm just moving this country into the filter. With that, we can understand one more thing, that you can just change this from one page to the other very smoothly. You can just shift this segment to your columns also. And see, now you have furniture with the three segment names, furniture total. Technology, three segment names, and the total. So you're just allowed to move your column from one place to other. Maybe because at the start we don't know where to drop and how the report will look. No worries, you just keep on experimenting and you can see different layouts are ready for you. What I did is I have dropped my country at the filters part. What's the purpose? When I go to country and I click on filter, I can see it gives me the list of all the country names. I can say Australia and okay, and that helps me to do what? It helps me to focus only on Australia. Same way I can go and say show me the report of China, and the entire report is updated for China. So anything you drop at the filter part, anything you drop at the filter part will do what? It will just apply the filter for all the below reports you have. You can activate or deactivate that as per your requirement. Okay. Now, I was wondering that okay, this works well for me. I can see the whole report, but then can I just have this report split it across multiple sheets so that I have a sheet name called as Australia where the report of Australia is getting displayed. The next sheet named as China and the report of China is displayed. While I was giving a thought, I thought it's quite simple. What I'll do is I'll go over here, I'll say filter this for Australia. Then maybe I can right click on the sheet name and say move or copy. I'll create one copy of this maybe after my sheet 3. And what I'll do is I'll go and rename it from Australia to China and okay. And I can continue doing that. So what I'm doing, I'm just taking copy of each sheet and just changing up the filters. And that's how I can have report for each of the country. But then that sounds like okay, lots of efforts have to be placed over here. And also I need to go and rename my sheets because later on I'll get confused which sheet is holding what info. So instead of doing all those efforts, I'm just making that as all once again. What I'm doing is I'm going for pivot table analyze tab. This is an amazing feature. You will be able to see that at click, all your reports have been splitted across multiple pages. I have used that feature a lot while I was creating reports. So I'm at pivot table analyze tab. There's pivot table where I can see options. If I open the drop down of options, I can see show report filter pages. Open the drop down of options and you can see show report filter pages. When you click on show report filter pages, you'll get one dialog box. What is the dialog box saying? That on your report filter, you have one name, that is country. Would you like to split with respect to country? I am saying yes. Okay. And see, just check on the status bar, guys. What you have got? Australia, China, Germany, India, Indonesia. Not to worry, your original file is still there with the name sheet 3. So what this feature had done, it has just splitted your reports with respect to what you have dropped at the filter. Just imagine you want to create monthly reports like this. So what you can do, just drop the column of month in the filters and it will split with respect to month. If you want it with respect to different products you have, drop your products over there and you can see the quantity sold with respect to each product name now. Very easy to build, right? Go ahead and give try for this one and then we'll move with learning what are the few more setting available in Pivot that can really make our work easier. Let's explore that. Now it's time for us to understand how pivot charts are created. So when I say I'm creating pivot charts, that means I'm transferring my data into visual insights so that I can have a graphical view onto the screen. Now, what's the purpose of that, or what's the flow of working with charts? I'll always say that your step number one is to select the pivot table. That means you will be anywhere within the pivot table, and then only you can see an option of pivot charts. You can choose pivot charts with respect to the table. So it will create a graph for that relevant info for you. So your step number one will be click somewhere inside the pivot. Step number two, go and say that you want to insert a pivot chart from the chart group. Once you do that, you will get a pop-up dialog box where you will get list of all the pivot chart options we have in Excel. Choose the chart which you feel will work best for you for the current data trends to show. When you are done with that, you can move ahead with adjusting the chart or customizing the chart, like changing the title of the chart, showing up the data labels on the chart, hiding some field buttons from the chart, or changing up the color combinations, showing the data labels and highlighting them, calling them. All those settings will be done at your step number four. Once you're good with that, you may go for the fifth window or the fifth step where you will actually analyze all of them at one page, and that's how your dashboards are built. Because at that time, what I'll do is I'll add slicers and timeline on my window, and I'll connect all the multiple charts I have created with respect to the same database. But then now over here it will be like, if on the slicer I say show me the report of January month, all the charts which I have on the screen, all the pivots I have on the screen will get filtered up for January only. If I say I want to focus on Maharashtra state only, then I can say Maharashtra slicing and then it will filter up for Maharashtra state. Or I can say I want to work on specific order priority. All the other priorities which were high, show me the report as per that only. And I can choose this. So it's your call. You choose how would you like to show your reports on the screen. But then the steps are very clear. First, choose the pivot table. Then go for inserting a chart by keeping your cursor within the pivot. After that, choose a correct type of chart, format your chart, and then finally go with analyzing your data. The most important thing when you're trying up all those things is choosing the appropriate chart. What does that plays an important role? Because every chart have its own significance. So when you are creating a chart, a simple question that should be in your mind is what is the purpose of that chart? So if you are willing to compare your profit, let's say, with respect to the different sources, then at that time, bar chart will be the best one for you. Column charts, bar charts will act good when you want to do the comparison. Line chart we usually take when we have some date parameters to show on the screen. Year wise, quarter wise, month wise. In that case, you go for line chart. You can choose a pie chart or a donut chart. Pie chart in the case where you have three categorical data. Like in our case, we have furniture, office supplies, and technology. So for this three, I can prefer to go for what? A pie chart. Likewise, you may go for a donut chart also, but then usually donut charts are preferred when you have five categories. Don't go for four categories, neither for pie chart nor for donut. Why? Because they shows your data in circular format and help you to describe them in percentage. So if you know your fields are more or less similar, then it will be like you have just divided your circles into four different parts. If you go for four values, it will be like quarter one, two, three, four. Not a good option. So you choose what is your purpose and how the inputs are, and according to that, you choose the correct type of chart. Once you have decided the chart, the next thing you should do is see how you can increase the space on the chart so that you can bring the focus on the area of interest. Make sure that you always have minimum meaningful info on the chart. Don't have too many informations on the charts and then it becomes challenging for a user to focus on the area of interest or the one which is really important. Also, when you say that you are building a dashboard, have some consistency. Consistency in what? In the color combinations you're choosing on the chart. So don't go for lots of variations in the colors. If you have chosen certain two or three colors of the charts, go with that standard for all slicers, timelines, or the charts you have chosen. Next thing, maybe you can even try to bring attention of the user by showing up data labels on the chart. Because just with graph, like you can see over here, with graph, it may be challenging for a user to understand the exact value. But then if you show the data labels on the chart, it becomes easy for them to understand, okay, that was a profit generated, that was a total sales done, or that was a count of transaction. So show your data labels. And if you want, you can just give some stylish impact to your data labels, call out, use a call out feature, because that will emphasize your data and will bring focus more better. You can also change the color combinations of your chart. Definitely there is one an inbuilt feature, but then you can even customize it with respect to your own color impacts you want. So we'll just explore all of this technique on how we can customize our thoughts and give a best look onto the dashboard screen. Let's explore building of the dashboards now. Now let us try to build a dashboard on the report. So to build the dashboard, I'm back to my data set for pivot. I'm starting from here. I'll go to the insert tab and I'm saying insert a pivot table on a new sheet. Correct? Let's say we would like to create a dashboard and we want to analyze our data with respect to the profit, how much profit we have generated with reference to the order sources, country wise, maybe with respect to the regions you have, segments you have, categories you have, all those stuffs you want on the screen. But then you want that in graphical format so that it's easy for you to analyze. Let's start. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm dropping the column of order source in my row, and I can see the list of unique column list over here for order source. I'm searching for profit, but then I can see that I don't have any column name as profit. There's no column with the name profit. So then how can I build this report of profit? What I can do is, it's very simple. You will create your own custom column now. You have two options. Either you go to the original table and write the profit column, which will be nothing but the difference of your total sales amount and cost, or you create it within the pivot. Let's explore how to create that within the pivot. That means how to write formulas in pivot and have custom columns. After dropping order source, I'm going for pivot table analyze tab. In that, I can see an option or a group called as calculations, where there's a feature called as field item and sets. You will get most probably this option exactly below the tab name only. In this pivot table panel, under the field item and sets, I can see calculated field. You'll use this option whenever you want to design your own custom column. So I'm clicking on this calculated field that opens a dialog box for me. I'm naming the column as profit. My new column is named as what? Profit. It is asking me for the name. Down it is asking me for the formula, which goes by default as equals to 0. What I'll do is, I'll go and give my own formula over here. So equals to, down there is a list of all the fields you have in the current table. You choose the columns which you want. I'm saying total sales amount. Better to double click instead of typing, but then you can type also. Minus, I'm double clicking on total cost. What I said, total sales amount minus total cost. Okay, and you can see I have got that profit column over here very quickly. You're free to always go and give name to your column. So I'm saying this as total profit. Instead of sum of profit, I'm naming that as total profit. I don't want a decimal, so I'm just selecting my home tab and I'm saying remove the decimal values from here. I can see the profit, but then it's not that easy for me to analyze it at the number part, where the profit is high or where it is low. So usually what we do is, once we are done with creating the pivots, we convert that tabular data into a graphical way, into a graphical format, so that it becomes easy for you to analyze. Now, for that, I'm going for the insert tab and I'm saying insert pivot chart. At the insert pivot chart option, when I click on pivot chart, I'll repeat the option. Under the insert tab, charts group, there's an option of pivot chart. When you click, you'll get a dialog box which is asking you the column, the type of pivot chart you want to design. I'm saying create the first one by default, which I have cluster column, and okay. You can see the cluster column chart is generated. Now if I look onto this chart, yes, that is easy for me to analyze now that Amazon is the one from where we have generated maximum profit. Followed by that, it was through referral. Then IndiaMart and Snapdeal are almost on the same level. Followed by website and Flipkart again almost on the same level. But then instead of showing almost on the same level, if I can just show the numbers over there, change the view of this table, it will be more better. So how do we customize the chart? Let's focus on that. If your chart is selected, your ribbon will now show you the options like analyze, layout, and format. Again, this will keep on varying as per the version you have. But then the options are available for you. The first thing, I don't want this total because anyways I'm working on one single column, so I can select and delete. I don't want this total also because I'm just working on profit. I don't need this total profit and order source because I know my data. So I'm right clicking and I'm saying hide the field buttons. This setting, all the three settings will help me to give more space for my chart. Now, any changes you want to do relevant to the report screen, that can be done with the help of design tab. So I can go to the design tab and I can choose how would I like to show this pivot. So I'm just choosing one of the option. Since it is profit, I'm going for maybe a tone of green color. Okay. And I want to show the labels over there. So I'll go for add chart elements. And in add chart elements, you can see an option of data label. So you can choose the option how you would like to show your data labels. I'm saying go with an call out feature and I can see all my data labels are getting displayed over there. What I did, I went to the design tab. I went for add chart elements, data labels. You choose where you want them. Center, inside and outside and inside base. As you wish, you can just show them. I went with outside end and my data labels are displayed. The next setting I want to do is maybe I want to change the colors of this, colors of the bars. Though I was getting a green bar, but I want to make it more darker. So I can even customize that. I can select the bars, go to the format tab, go for the shape field colors, and you can choose your own colors from here too. So I can go for shape field color and maybe I can make that as a bit more darker one. Okay, that's how the settings of charts are accessible for us. Let me go for the next setting now. I'll just adjust that so that it shows me all the names. I'm creating my next report where I want to analyze my profit with respect to the segments I'm having. So either I go back to my original data and start recreating everything, or the best option for me will be just copy the above pivot and paste it down. Copy the above pivot, paste it down. When you copy paste, you're just getting the same report. But then you uncheck order source, and then select segment and drop it on the row. And here you go. You got your next report which says segment wise the profit you have generated. Now, again, you can go to the insert tab. In the insert tab, you can go for pivot charts and you can say create a pivot chart for this too. When you say pivot chart, it is asking you for the chart type. This time I'm going for a pie chart. So pie chart are really a good option when you have three categories to show on the screen. So I'm saying convert this to a pie chart so that percentage comparison can be done over here. Now I'll again go to the design tab to change the design of this. I'll go for changing the color combination for the chart. I don't want this total, so I'll just select and delete. I don't want this total, so I'll just say hide all the field buttons. And maybe I can go for my add chart elements, data labels, and I can call that as in call out value so that it shows me the label on the chart itself. Now I know that the highest profit we have generated, that is 49%, is from consumer, 34% is relevant to corporate, and 17% is from home office. You can analyze that over here. Yeah. Let's create the third report. So I'll just copy again one of the pivot and I'm pasting it over here. After copy and paste, what I can do is I can choose. Now the pivot has to be with respect to which category. I am saying that show me this with respect to the different product categories we have. We want the profit to be calculated with respect to categories. So just simply drop the column of category into the columns area, into the rows area. So you can see category wise what is the total profit generated, correct? Let's change that to a graphical view again. So I'm going for pivot charts and I'm inserting a line with marker option this time. Okay, and I got my chart. Let me place that over here. Since I'm trying to build a dashboard on this page, I will try the best I can to manage everything on one single screen so that you don't need to navigate on the screen. I have placed this over here, the total categories. Let me delete the total. Let me delete the title also. Let me hide this profit and I can see the graph. I'm just moving to the design tab to pull a good design. I'm going for add chart elements, data labels, and I'm saying call out. Let me change the line color again to maybe an orange color line. That helps me to now know the profit I have generated with respect to the different categories we have. So three analyses are there right now on the screen. Category wise the profit, sources wise the profit, and segment wise the profit. But whenever we say that we are building a dashboard, there will be one common factor over there, that is some filtering tool with respect to which you can just focus on your area of interest. So let's see how can I have those filtering option on the screen now. What I'll do is I'm selecting any one of my chart with respect to which I want to have a slicer. After selecting the chart, I'm moving for my Analyze tab. You can see in the Analyze tab, there's an option of Insert Slicer. When you click on Insert Slicer, you will get a dialog box which is asking you want the slicer for which one? For which field? I'm saying insert the slicer for the different, let me go for order priorities. So I'm saying insert a chart with respect to the different order priorities we have. So I'm choosing priority as my column and I'm saying okay. Now I'm just trying to adjust that priority slicer over here into this graph space. So you are free to adjust your data as per the space available for you. Now the point is, what is this slicer? When you click on critical, high, low or medium, it is just filtering up your report with respect to the value you have chosen. But then when I check carefully, I can see the slicer is working only for my one chart. It's not working for all the charts. When I say it is filtering, it should filter all my charts. So I can go to the slicer tab. It was working for one of the chart because that was the chart I have chosen to create the slicer. If I want the slicer to get connected with the other charts too, I'll have to indicate that in the report connection. So when the slicer is selected, on the ribbon you'll be getting a slicer tab. When you go to slicer tab, there's an option of report connection. And in the report connection, it will list down all the pivots you have created. So you just need to choose the pivots which you want to connect. Like I will be connecting all the pivots which are in sheet number 10. That's the dashboard screen for me. I don't need to connect it with all the slicers. So I'm just saying all the pivots which are there in sheet number 10, you connect with them. When I say OK, and I now click on critical, high, medium or low, I can see the three charts are getting filtered up. And that's how the dashboard is ready. If you want to change some settings on the slicer, you can go to the slicer tab and maybe you want to change the style of the slicer, maybe the color. So I'm just changing up the color. That's it. Let me try to insert one more slicer now. So again, this time let's say I'm using a pie chart to insert. I'm going for the Analyze tab and I'm saying insert a slicer. This time I want slicer for all the different states we have. So I'm clicking on state and I'm saying okay. That helped me to get the list of all states we have. I'm just trying to arrange them horizontally over here at the screen so that I can see the name of the states in a horizontal pattern. But if I've arranged horizontally, I would like to have multiple columns over there to get lot of button type icons. So I can go to the slicer tab and maybe I can convert that to 5 number of columns so that it lists down the names of the states in this format. Other than that, you can go to the slicer tab again and choose what should be the color of the slicer for you. Let me just go for a blue color this time. Also, click on report connection and say that again this slicer should be connected with your three charts. Say OK and that's it. Now, when I filter up over here for anything, for any of the state, for an example, if I say Delhi, you can see it is getting filtered up and helping me to know what profit I have generated in Delhi with respect to all the things. So in Delhi, I have 5% profit generated from consumer and 95% is from corporate only. And there is no transaction for office supplies over here. If I check over here for categories, I can see the profit report over here for categories and the profit generated with respect to the different sources also. I can even click on medium. That means I can work on two filters at a time with all the transactions which had a priority as medium. Now what's the profit report? And it works very smoothly for me. That's how you have given an interactivity to your slicer. I'll just give one background color to this area so that it will instruct my end user that this is the area of the dashboard. So I'm just giving a good color. That helps me to remove all the borders also, and the slicer area is frozen now. One more thing which you can do over here, like for an example, I had my pivots, but then I can go to the design tab, like we have checked before. You can go and pick a good design for your pivots, go for banded rows, banded columns, and highlight them. Correct? That you can do it for every pivot you have. So let me just do that quickly. I'm going for the design tab for each of the pivot, and I'm going for different color combinations, banded rows, banded columns for each of them. Just to highlight them, I'm going for the design tab, choosing some color, choosing banded rows, banded columns. Also, if your headers are not visible and you want to change their colors, you can go to the home tab and give some background color to the headers. So I'm going for the blue over there, going for the orange for the second one. So you're free to choose the colors as per your wish. Using an orange one, yellow one for the third one. And that's it. And that's how my pivots are also quite formatted now. They are readable. You could have done one more thing in this case. You could have all your charts at one page and your tables at the other page. Even that was fine. Now there's one more thing which can be used on the dashboard panel, which is timeline. So slicer will help you to filter with respect to the text field. But then what if you want to have filtering on quarter wise, month wise, or year wise report? In that case, timeline tool will help you. So I'm selecting my line chart. As I said you can choose any one of the three charts because later on anyways you're going to connect them. Now I'm going for the analyze tab, and the place where I had insert slicer in the filters, I have insert timeline. When you click on timeline, it will just list down the name of the columns which have date or time properties. So I'm getting only two, order date and ship date. I'm selecting order date and I'm saying okay. Now, with respect to the order date, my timeline is ready. I'll just try to arrange the timeline in the space I have over here. Now, what's the purpose of timeline? I have created the timeline. Now, what's the purpose of this timeline? When I say give me the report of July 21, August 21, September 21, you can see the report for that particular month. Like you did before, this time also you'll go to the timeline panel and you can go and change the color effects. You can go for report connections and say that this timeline should be connected with all the charts you have at sheet number 10 maybe. And now see, I have the profit generated in September 21, August 21 or July 21. All my three charts are getting filtered up. It shows you the report for each, correct? And you can just combine everything. You can say all the transactions which have done as critical for Uttar Pradesh in September 21, what is the profit? August 21, what is the profit? And so on. You can even drag and choose multiple months over here. If it is working for months and you want to convert it to quarters, you're even free to do that. So you can say quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. You can choose Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, remove the filters if you are not able to see any of them. That means you don't have transactions relevant to what three combinations you have chosen. So just change that combination and you'll be able to see your report. Let me rename this page with the name dashboard. Okay, go give a try for building up your dashboard and see if all the things works perfectly for you. I'll just remove all the filters so that you know what is the final outcome. Give try. Now the next important part when we talk about Excel is macros. What is that? That is nothing but a tool which will help you to automate your tasks. Now, when we say macro, what do we exactly understand by that? So, macro is nothing but a code or some repetitive steps which you are recording, and then you are asking your Excel to repeat those steps for maybe to perform a speedy operations and to give consistencies on your report. The point is, why does that matter? I mean, what if I just do it manually every time? I can say I'll reduce a lot of my manual work because I'm just doing the same task again and again. When I'm doing something manually, there are high chances of me making a mistake. So it will help me to reduce my errors also. And then there will be a standardization in the process across your workbooks. So using macros, you can just really do a lot of things very faster. And I can say, if you use macro efficiently, not that depends on how effectively you can use the tool, how good you are with the coding or at least with the recording also, then 60% of your work will be, at a very better level, I can say. When we say macros, what are the real world examples where I can actually use this tool? So I can use it for automations on monthly reports. I know that I always have to create the report, so I can ask my macro to give that structure to the report, to update my pivot tables, or to export any of my data into a PDF file. I don't want to do that task every day. I can even say that I can use macros for standardizing my data formats. So if I know that this is a raw data I'm always going to get, and those are the formattings I need to apply every time on my data. I know that case has to be changed. I don't know. I know that the color has to be given. I know that the auto fit impact is to be applied, filtering is to be done. All those things I can just do with the help of macros and standardize my formatting. Also, like, we have learned how to build a dashboard, but then if you want to refresh that dashboard, you can just have a button event over there, and when you click on the button, the dashboard will get refreshed automatically. So these are just few of the examples with the which are, the true scenarios where Excel will allow you to automate your tasks by just a button click event. Now the point is, how do I start with macro? So the first step will be always start with the recorded macros only. That means at the initial level, you may go with recording the macros as we'll be learning today, and automate your structure. Once you're good with that, you can start with writing your codes. But then always make sure that you give good module names, sub process are named correctly, and all the variables which you're using over there are quite readable. The third thing which you need to always take care is avoid working on your actual data sets. Always take a copy. That's the best practice. And then play with the copied data. And once you're okay with the code, then you can use it on your final values, final data sets. Also, there are ways by which you can write comments in your macros. So make sure that at every code you have written certain comments, so that you or maybe somebody else who is going to refer your macro afterwards will be able to understand that documentation. It's a very good practice. And the most important one, the final one, is make sure that you trust the source from where the macro was arrived, because macro is again one of the place from where maximum viruses may enter to your system. So don't download a random file from any website and then just say, okay, I trust, and then activate the macros. Don't do that. You activate the macros only and only from the workbooks which you believe are the genuine workbooks. They are not some random workbooks downloaded from some XYZ locations. The simple care, and then you're free to use your macros. So then let us see, how do we actually use the tool. Let's explore. So I'm going to my Excel window. In the Excel workbook which was shared to you, you have four sheets towards the end: quarter 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we are assuming that we always get our reports of the expenses done quarter wise. What does the data hold? It shows the serial number, followed by that, the label of the expenses done, what was the budgeted value of the expenses, and what's the actual expenses done in that particular month. Our task is to find out the difference and the percent change for that month. Likewise, I can see I have May budgeted and May actual, and I want to find out the difference in the percent change. I have June budgeted and actual, I need to find out the difference in the percent change. Then finally, I have total, but I need to find out the difference and the percent change. Column B is indicating the type of expenses I do. So with respect to that, I just need to calculate. But then just calculation is not my target. Also, I need to format my data. So we are exploring how to format the data. So we are on the workbook where four worksheets are given to us: quarter 1, 2, 3, 4. What we have is, it is showing us the expenses done for each quarter. Column number 1 is about the serial number, followed by that the name of the expenses we did, what was the budgeted value of April, actual expenses done in April, May budgeted, May actual, June budgeted, June actual, and same way total budgeted and total actual is given to us. We need to find out the April difference and the percent change, May difference and the percent change, June difference, percent change, total difference and the total percent change. Then that is about quarter one story. When I go for quarter two, I again have July, August, and September, then October, November, and December, then January, February, and March. So I have to keep on repeating the same steps. I also have to give a good look to this data. So instead of repeating it for every quarter, I just thought to do it once with the help of macro. So that in quarter two, when I need it again, what I'll do is I'll just simply call the macros and macro will complete my task. Let's see how. There are few settings which you need to do before you start with this process. You need to have a developer tab on your ribbon. So to get that tab, in case if you don't have, simply right click on any tab name and then say customize the ribbon. When you do that, when you go for customize the ribbon, you will get this dialog box where on the right side under the main tabs, you can see a tab name called as developer. Click on the checkbox of developer and say OK. When you do this, your developer tab is activated now. Now you can use this for your further process. How? I'm outside the table range where I was willing to make my impact, and then I'm clicking on record macro. Remember, once you click on record macro, every action you're going to perform will be recorded. So just be careful that you do the minimum steps of recording. So I'm clicking on record macro and I'm naming my first macro as format. That means this macro will always help me to give the formatting for my quarterly reports. I'm saying okay. Now the macro has started the recording. So I need to take care that I just give whatever formattings I want as a standard. My step number 1 is click on A7. That means it had recorded. I am starting from cell A7. Now I'm pressing Control Shift down, Control Shift right. I'm just selecting the whole table. After selecting the whole table, I'm going for the home tab and I'm saying that I would like to give all borders to this. That's it. I have done with my first recording. Second step of my recording is I'm selecting my headers. After selecting the headers, I would like to give some background color and text color over here. So in the home tab, I'm choosing the bucket icon and I'm saying give me a orange as in background color. I'm changing my text color to white, making that as bold, giving center alignments, increasing the size. And then I am selecting the whole data and pressing Alt H O I, indicating what? That I want to auto fit this data. Also, I'm pressing Control Shift L to indicate that I want an filtering option over here. Once you're done with all the formats, you can just take your cursor back to any random cell and go back to the developer tab and say stop recording. When you do this, your first macro is recorded. Let us record one more macro now. My next macro will be the one which will help me to write down my formulas. Now, how do I write that? Again, I'm somewhere outside. I'm going for the developer tab and I'm clicking on record macro. I'm naming this macro as formula and OK. So whenever I run this macro, all my formulas will be written. I'm taking my cursor to E8. I'm taking my cursor to E8 and I'm writing my formula equals to. How can I calculate the difference? I'll say take the actual value and subtract that from the budgeted value. So actual minus budgeted will help me to get my formula, a simple formula. Second formula I need to find out is April percent change, where I'm saying equals to. You take the April difference and divide that with the actual expenses done. That helps me to calculate my percentage. But then to change that to percentage, I'm just going to the home tab and I'm converting it to percentage now. So you can see I have got my difference and percent change. I want the same formula to be dragged down. So I'm just double clicking to drag it down. Simple. Now let me copy this formula. I'm just copying this range and I'm pasting it for May difference because of relative concept. May, June and total can be calculated. So what I recorded this time, I have just written some basic formulas like do the subtraction and division, and that's it. I'm going somewhere outside to the place and I'm saying developer tab and stop recording. That records my next macro. Once these two macros are recorded, what I can do is I can run the macro. So the next time, like in quarter two, when I get my report, what I'll do is quarter two don't have any report, correct? So what I'll have to do, I have to write the formulas, I have to give the formatting. But since I have my macro, I'll go to the developer tab, I'll click on macro, and I'll say, okay, you run the format macro for me. And see, that's amazing that I've got all my formattings. I don't need to put any efforts now. I'll go to the macro again and I'll say, run the formulas for me. Now you can see all the formulas have been executed for me. Remember, it's not checking the values inside. So you may have a different headers, you may have different budgeted and actual values. It is just writing a simple formula for you. Isn't that magical? Like I have recorded something and it is just repeating those steps for me whenever I call. Let me come to quarter three. And a quick thought that come to my mind is, can I just make this a bit better by giving a button click event so that my user can click on the button and then get the formattings quickly? Yes, you can even do that. How? I'm outside. So to get that button, you just need to go to the insert tab, go for your illustration group, click on shapes and add a shape. So I've just drawn a shape over here. After drawing the shape, you're free to change the color of the shape as per your wish and write the text inside the shape. So I'm naming this as click to get format. Click to format maybe. That's the name I have given to the shape. I can just select my data, go to the home tab and get a good background for this. Maybe increase the size too. Once the first shape is ready, I'm just copying and pasting that shape again, and I'm naming this shape, second shape as click to write formula. And now I'm done. I can right click on this shape and I can say assign a macro to this shape, choosing a format macro. So you'll get the list of all macros you have designed up till now. Just attach them with the particular buttons, assigning formulas over here. Now see the magic. I'm clicking on click to format and I got the formatting. I'm clicking on click to write the formulas and I got the formulas. So when I go for quarter one, I don't need to come over here and do this. Maybe I can just copy and paste this over here. Click on for formattings, click to write the formulas, and you can see you have got those impact. Correct? So that's how with the help of macros you can just easily apply all the formattings you want, all the formulas you want, but then just make sure that it works for a standard structure only. So if you have similar matching structures, go ahead with your macros and record everything, have buttons and then click on the buttons and everything will be done automatically for you. Okay. In case if you wish to go and check the coding, you can anytime go to the developer tab, go for macros, choose a macro you want to check and say edit. So when you say edit, it will open your code, but then that code will be appeared in an VBA language, that is Visual Basic for applications. Whatever changes you want on your macro can be done from here. You can see in our case, we have created two macros. So two sub procedures are defined over here, sub format and sub formula. Any procedure which you see end will indicate that as end sub, and then your next macro will start. If you wish to execute this code one by one for each, you can just go for pressing the function key F8 and execute the code line by line also. So F8 will help you to debug the code in sequence line by line. Once you're done with all the checking of your VBA code, just simply close that and that's it. You're back to your Excel window. Go ahead, give a try for this recording of the macro. So that was all about the learning of day two. Just to have a quick recap of what we covered in day two. In day two, we started with understanding how to write conditional formulas like how to do COUNTIF, SUMIF, or average if, how can we use certain keys like control backspace, F4 to lock the cell addressing, and then control home to go quickly to the start of the data and select the values. And with all those logic, we have built our reports where we checked what is the profit generated with respect to the different order sources we have, count of transaction with respect to the different categories we have, and so on. The next learning on this window was about how to create your pivot tables. So we learned what are pivot tables, why they play an important role, and how manipulating with your pivots just using the four areas of the pivot you can quickly have an amazing reports on the screen. We also checked how to convert that text data into a graphical view by creating pivot charts. And finally, we are ending at macros. I hope you enjoyed your day two learning. Go ahead, explore everything whichever we have covered in day one and day two. Thank you so much for joining, guys. Bye bye, take care, and keep learning.